This occurred just a few weeks ago. Me, 19 male, and stepdad, referred to as dad for ease of reference. Well, to provide some context, I am now living at home, but I am actively looking for a place to live in secret from my parents. My father was active duty military but is now in the reserves and guards the gates of our local military post. He has some sort of PTSD from his active service years but refuses to recognize it or seek treatment for it, and I am typically the target of his rage. My mother finished from nursing school last year and is now employed as a nurse. She and my father have been married for 11 years and have one child, my younger sister, 8 years old. And because his previous relationship with his children did not work out, he has a hyperfixation on keeping her happy but has always been somewhat standoffish towards me. But that's a story for another time. After dropping my sister off at the bus stop, I decided to relax for the day before heading over to my girlfriend's house that evening because it was my first day free in a long time. Because I worked 2 jobs, my father was leaving for work when he informed me I needed to get a haircut that day. I told him I could not afford one, and one that I had only gotten 2 weeks before, so my hair was still short. Just borrow money from your parents or your partner, just get it done. No excuses, he urged. He then walked away. I called my mother about an hour later to let her know what was going on. She sighs but does not resist. But I instructed her to hold on. I called my regular barber shop to see if my guy was available that day. He was not. That's a problem because every other barber in the region has either screwed up my hair horribly or refuses to touch it because I'm mixed and I have thick curly hair and they are afraid they will mess it up. So I phoned my mom back and tell her that my boyfriend is not working today but that he would be tomorrow. She says okay and to just go the next day. And we go about our business. When my mom gets home from work, I go to my girlfriend's place around 5 p.m. About 15 minutes later, my mom calls me and asks, "Do they have hair clippers there?" I don't believe so. Why, mom? Pop says he will chop your hair if you don't come home with a haircut. My girlfriend overhears this and, having witnessed what I'm going through with him on a regular basis, replies, "What the F is going on? No, you're not going to let him do that to you because it's abusive as F." Am I on speakerphone? Mom asks me. No, I'm going. I'm weary of being shouted at today. Mom says. I'm stunned at this point, but I immediately snap out of it, recalling the man I'm dealing with and how regular this type of thing is for him. And turn to look at my girlfriend. I admit that I searched her house for clippers, even dog clippers, and when I could not locate any, I was desperate enough to beg her to trim my hair with scissors. I knew that seems absurd, but you have to understand how much this man worries me. We are both around the same height, but he is much stronger and more scary than I am, and he knows it. He has struck me in the chest before because I wasted his tire shine for his car, and instead of conventional punishments, he would make me do military exercises for 3 to 4 hours for any minor infraction. You got up late, exercise. Dishes were not finished, exercise. Wearing clothes that I dislike, exercise. He once grabbed my collar and pinned me against a wall in front of all our family friends because he thought I moaned at him. Yet, after I can't find any clippers, my girlfriend urges me to take a break and rest. She advised me not to return home while he was threatening me. I told her I didn't have an option because I had work the next day. My uniform was at home and I could not call out because I had just begun my second job. After some discussion, we agreed to go pick up my work clothes and return to her house because her mother had informed me that I may remain with them for a short while. So I contacted my mother again and told her that what I was going to do, and she burst out laughing. "No, you must come home," she says. "I am not returning home to be shaved bald," I said. "Please, just come home. I will talk to him," Mom says. "No, I'm coming to get my clothes and staying here for the night," I said. "This will just make things worse," says Mom. "I don't feel secure there tonight," I exclaimed. F you, my mom said. I got into my car and tell my girlfriend to get into hers. It's about 7:45 p.m. At this point, my mother calls me again as we begin to drive. Please come home. I talked to him and he agreed to keep it nice. Mom says, I'm getting my things and leaving. My girlfriend will accompany me. No, she is not, says Mom. I will call 911 if she comes near my house. She is here to make me feel safe. I say, if you think you are living in that car, you are mistaken. Mom says, that's not your car. It's the one we let you drive. Alright, girlfriend's in her car, so we will just take her car back to her place. I said, my mother begins to complain about how this is causing her to have a stroke, that if I don't come home, she will call an ambulance on herself, and that I am placing her in a dangerous situation. However, I eventually cave and tell her I'm leaving and hang up the phone. I then contact my girlfriend who has been driving behind me the entire time and explain her the situation. She encourages me not to, but I tell her what my father said about having a stroke and how it's highly likely because she had them before. She doesn't like the idea, but I tell her to stay outside the front of my neighborhood for at least an hour. And if she wants to go after that, she can. But if I don't contact her at 1 a.m. to tell her I'm fine, she should call the cops. She agreed, so we went forward with it. When I walk into my house, my father hugs me while crying. My sister is still perplexed as to what is going on. But after my mom's drama, we walk into my bathroom and she styles up my beard a little. The only thing that really needed to be done. And my dad arrives about an hour later. Things did not remain civil, as she said. He began yelling at me about how I never listened, threatened me with a fight outside right now, and said he is not afraid of jail time because he served it before. And said he's poured 10 years of his life into me and that he will get something out of it. Whether it's me getting a job and supporting myself or him kicking my ass. He emphasizes that he is not and will never be my father. He doesn't let me call him dad. He makes me call him pops. That was the first conversation we had when I was 8. He tells me there is only one man on his house and it's him. So if I want to act like a man to go out into the real world and act like one while I was in his house, I am to do whatever he says. Even if he asks me to do something, he is not really asking me. He is telling me to do it. More politely, my mother does not interrupt or say anything throughout this time. He then urges me not to yell at his wife ever again for my own protection. After all of this, I go downstairs to my room and contact my girlfriend to let her know I am fine. For reference, he started yelling at me at 9:20 and I called her at 11:30. So I was standing there being yelled at for nearly 2 hours. I am still at home. A few weeks later, I am looking for a place to live, so I approached her during her lunch break to speak with her, just to set up the stage. My mother and I both work at the same hospital. She is a nurse, as I previously indicated, and I work as a barista on the building's main floor. I asked her why she never stood up for me when it comes to pops. And she attempted every reason she could think of. You will need to let it go. I told her, I have been let it go for 10 years. And I deserve to know why you would enable a man who has told me since the beginning that he is not my father and has made me fear him rather than love him. Do what he has done to me for so long. She attempted to convince herself that if she intervened, things would only grow worse and he would burst. Excellent, I said, let him to erupt. Allow his final daughter to see him for who he actually is and then contact the cops. She eventually gave in and she stated that she doesn't want to marry him due to his actions. He won't let her put anything in her name. She claims the house and the automobiles are not in her name. Why not live and utilize your savings to get by for a while? I said, I'm sure living in an apartment and obtaining a cheaper car would be preferable to dealing with him. She disclosed to me that she squandered all of her savings to pay for nursing school. Now, I should mention that nursing school my mother attended was not a typical one. Rather than taking coursework across several years in college, they cram everything into extremely stressful academic year. The school is not cheap, but it boasts an incredibly high hiring rate, with nearly 100% of students employed into a hospital or clinic before they even finish. My mother completed this program in 2020 while my father was overseas. And then COVID struck. My sister and I were enrolled in online school, but my mother was not, so her school were combined with both of her child being stuck at home and little help from my father, other than him yelling commands at her over the phone, stressed her out to the point of failing at the end of the school year. If your grade fell below 70%, no, you would be kicked out of the class. Nevertheless, despite missing one too many questions on her final test, the program's director encouraged her to return the following year because she believed my could do it. That took the loss of her savings, but she did it, and now she has to earn it all back. She tells me it's difficult because now that she has a job, my father believes he can buy whatever he wants. I have heard her chastise him several times for spending money on PlayStation, but he always claims, I thought the new Call of Duty weapon set looked interesting, so I purchased it. Whatever, it's my money in the end. Or how instead of placing items in his Amazon cart and discussing them with my mother, he will not just buy it if he feels like it. I expressed my sympathy to mom but asked why she never told me and instead made it appear as if I was alone in my disapproval for his conduct. It's an adult situation, she said. Mom, I explained, I will turn 19 on June 20th. I am a grown up. I work 2 jobs and pay or assist with some of the expenses and food. You should have told me whether I was an adult or not a long time ago. She apologized and expressed a regret for her actions. She then said that she recognized that I was correct and that I didn't need to deal with this nonsense any longer than I already had, and that she would assist me in finding a place. Even offered to assist me in speaking with my friend's family to see if I could not remain with them after the trip as a temporary place to stay, but she asked that when I leave, I don't depart in a big way and instead leave when he goes away for a month in April or inform him ahead of time, so there's no way he can try to shoot it down. She claimed that she could not do anything about the car because he would not allow me to take it, but she offered to ask some friends and co-workers to help me move whenever I find a place and I'm free to go. So it appears that my mom is on my side. I told her that I appreciated it, but it will take me longer to forgive her for allowing him to hurt me all these years. And she said she understood and will likely never forgive herself for it. And my opinions about this issue is, first and foremost, it is evident that the main issue in this story is the abusive behavior of the stepfather towards the OP. It is clear that the stepfather's behavior is causing fear and anxiety in the OP, which is not acceptable in any situation. The stepfather's actions such as physical abuse, verbal abuse, and making unreasonable demands are all forms of emotional abuse. It is concerning that the stepfather has refused to seek help for his PTSD, which may be contributing to his behavior. Secondly, the response of the OP's mother is also concerning. It appears that she is aware of the stepfather's behavior, but is not taking any steps to protect her son. Her reaction to the situation is defensive and she is not taking responsibility for the situation. The fact that the mother is not speaking out against the stepfather's behavior is enabling him to continue with his abusive behavior. Overall, it is important for the OP to prioritize their safety and seek help from authorities or trusted individuals. The situation highlights the importance of addressing mental health concerns and seeking support for those affected by PTSD. Additionally, it is crucial for family members to take action against abusive behavior and not enable it to continue.